There's a great religious scholar. His name is Huston Smith. He writes about all the world religions, the different world religions. He said something so profound. What he says is, as human beings, we are made to surpass ourselves. And truly, we are ourselves only when we're transcending ourselves. In other words, our true nature is wherever we are on this day to transcend who we see ourselves as and allow more of Spirit to break through. We've been studying a book written by Chris Gardner, Start Where You Are. If you're visiting us here today, we often do book studies and work through some books in this church. And Chris Gardner was truly someone I could say has transcended himself in a physical, a spiritual, emotional way. Lesson 5 of his book, he says, baby steps count as long as you are going forward. In this chapter, he talks about his Uncle Joe. He tells us a story about his Uncle Joe. And in the 1940s, Uncle Joe wanted to join the rest of the family that had settled in Milwaukee. Uncle Joe was still in Mississippi. He didn't have a car, he didn't have the funds, he didn't have the means to get there. And so he walked from Mississippi to Milwaukee. It was far, I'm sure. But all that really mattered was that he kept moving forward and he was headed in the right direction. Last week we shared how Moses' first step was a step in his mind, where he really had to accept not only the call, the purpose that Spirit put on his life, but he had to accept that he had already possessed all of the power, all of the Spirit, all of the gifts, and all of the talents to walk in this call. You remember we spoke about the staff. But there's a lot more to Moses' story of growth. You see, I believe all of us, we do answer our call. We do see our purpose. We do believe in our greatness. And we do take those first steps. We do move in the direction that Spirit inspires us. We do successfully cross over whatever that metaphorical Red Sea is that may show up to try and get in our way. I know many of us, we've swam through the Red Sea. It's parted. If you're from up north, you've skated over it when it freezes over in the winter. We'll do anything to get across when it's our passion to arrive at the other side. But I also know in the story, and I also know in my own life story, there's many times where we're just one or two steps away. Where we meet that person, we're involved in the relationship, we're happy, we're one or two steps away, and boom! Out of nowhere, some opposing voices come up in our mind. And we go into this trance, and before we know it, we've sabotaged everything. And then we wake up and be like, what happened to my dream? You see, these voices, they are not the voice of God. What happens is the Israelites, they send out some spies, 12 of them, a handful of spies. They send them to Canaan, the promised land. And they want to, check it out before they move in. And so the spies come back, and they say it's everything and then some. The fruit is wonderful. The land is fertile. There's only one problem. There are giants there who make us feel like grasshoppers. In other words, they move into the dream. We move into the job. We move into the relationship. And all of a sudden, a voice in our head shows up and says, you're no good. You don't deserve this. And then this unconscious sabotage takes place. What happened is these 10 scouts, these 10 spies, they come back. And all of Israel is listening. All of our mind is open. And they communicate these negative attitudes. They describe their fears. And the people listened. There were two, Caleb and Joshua. And we have Caleb and Joshua in our head. And they shout out, take the land. We are well able. Let's take the land. Let's take the dream. Let's take the goal. Let's heal the relationship. Let's believe in ourselves. We are well able. Four powerful words that you can declare to yourself in any moment where those negative voices are, showing up in a situation is, I am well able. Period. Affirm that with me. I am well able. Louder. I am well able. Come on. I am well able. That's, I am well able. Period. Period. There's no but that comes in that affirmation. What are we well able to do? I'll tell you. We are well able to overcome difficulties. Why? Because you've all overcome thousands of them in your life already. We are well able to seize dreams. We are well able to speak healing into every prayer. We are well able to believe in ourselves. Yet we are well able to do anything that we're just willing to take the baby steps to get to. And we know, even in us, there are those voices of the faithless and fear-filled scouts. And I don't know about you, but, in my mind, they seem to speak louder, longer, and more persistent than the I am well able voice. Like I have to really sometimes, remind myself, I am well able, I am well able. While those other voices, man, I don't need to call them in. They just seem to show up like a broken record. You are not well able. 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 You don't know what that means unless you know. Records used to skip, Marie. I know it's, they used to have this grooves in them, and the needle would follow around the groove, and every once in a while, it would skip. What? Yeah. Oh, you have? Okay. All right. Well, records used to skip. But the story is great because the ancient Israelites represent our consciousness. Our unfolding consciousness, the growth of our consciousness. It describes in the story how, first, they forget their promise. This land has been promised to you. That happiness has been promised to you. Health is your divine birthright. Being debt-free is a part of being a truth student. And there is nothing missing, lacking, or broken in our life. And I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly is the promise. But the Israelites forget the promise. That's one. The second thing is they listen to the fears. I can imagine if this was today, it would be being broadcast on the news. There'd be like one of those emergency broadcast systems. The giants made us feel like grasshoppers. The economy makes me feel powerless. I need one job, but, I'm worried about why, there's 90,000 people out of work. You need one job. The doctor said maybe I should watch out for this. And next thing you know, it's my every waking thought.